Do you honestly believe people know what goodness is? Obviously not. Consider the fights between nations, the wars, the conflicts in the families, at the office, at school. Too much fighting, too much contraposition, too much disharmony. It's obvious man doesn't know what goodness is, and religion doesn't really teach us, nor do we learn at school. So, let us consider, what is goodness? Goodness is like the sun. It caters to every creature big, every creature small, sustains all, helps others, feeds small creatures, gives pleasures to many, caters to the needs of others, gives guidance. Being good is to give guidance to others in the right way towards the right purpose. There are many ways to do good. The religion of goodness starts and bases itself on a small way of doing goodness, which is the feeding of small creatures. It is at the basis of it all. Why? It's easy to do, hard to stop. That said, why should you do good? Why should you be good? Well, goodness keeps you in a good mood, sustains you throughout the day, and sets purpose in your life. One of the biggest problems man has in this world is a depression, a feeling of emptiness, and goodness deals with that. In particular, as I pointed before, the small goodness of feeding the ants, the birds, the feeding other creatures. The small goodness is the basis of all other more advanced typologies of goodness that might give even greater results. But goodness has one problem. It can irritate others. Whilst you do good, you might end up having a fight with somebody else. Feeding small creatures calls others that say that you dirty the streets. Being kind to someone might bring the anger of someone else. Opposites in this world quite often end up in conflict. And it's an evil world, a wrongdoing world. And if you do the right thing, if you're kind and if you're good, there is a chance that you will end up in a fight with somebody else, even if you're trying to help that person. So what should you do? Whilst you're doing good, you should be wise. Wise, careful, and trying to respect those which are the rules and the customs of wherever you are. The small goodness, the feeding of the ants and the birds, is something that's very hard to stop. A bit of cheese given to 2-3 pigeons as you walk is very hard to criticize. But sometimes the greater messes, the counsel, the suggestions, even lending a helping hand sometimes quite often is seen with mistrust in this world. For that reason, it's best to be wise and to observe rules, to avoid, to be careful of fights. You see, fights might seem to be a good thing. See, to uphold goodness is something that many preach in films and in popular culture. But fights is something you want to avoid. The reason you want to avoid fights is, you never know what might happen. You might lose it. You might lose a fight, hurt yourself, ruin the relations with your neighbors, and simply have a bad day. And why should things go bad when you're trying to do good? Not right, not just, and simply not fair. How many times a day should I do goodness? Twice a day? At least goodness to two beings, to two small beings, pigeons, ants, whatever it is a good rule of the thumb. As you walk around after a day's work, or maybe during the lunch break, you might spot a couple of a small anthill or a couple of pigeons on the pathway, and it would be a good idea to feed them. That is, if you're in the center of town. If you're instead in the countryside or have a small garden, it's an easier thing to do. Breaking some bread and preparing some crumbs for the sparrows, placing them at the doorstep, is a great way to attract some new small friends. After a while, they'll notice the bread, and you'll see them come regularly to see if there's an extra meal which they can enjoy, filling in a certain sense your mind and your heart with that pleasurable sensation of goodness that dispels sadness and brings a little bit of joy to our lives. But bread is not really what they want. They want cheese. If there's something which calls the birds well, it's cheese. Crows, sparrows, gulls. They all love cheese, so if you really want to make a bird happy, why not give him a bit of cheese which can be easily bought in the supermarket. Cheese in a certain sense is what we want as well. Cheese represents the pleasures of life, the small joys, the small luxuries. So if you want pleasure yourself, why not give pleasure to others? If you can, it doesn't cost much. Once again, we live in a modern society that makes food cheap. Why not give some cheese, some luxury to the small creatures instead of the simple bread that everybody gives? To share the treasures of man with other creatures is good. We don't think about it, but what we give to ourselves, since there's abundance, why not give to others? Be it other people, be it other men, women, or be it the creatures themselves. Why should a creature work so hard when it's so simple for a man to break a little bit of food from his plate or from his sandwich and give it to the creature itself? It's sad to think that we think only about ourselves and do not think in this prosperous modern society about that which is all around us. Sharing is a very good and very important behavior in the eyes of that which is good. When we live our lives, we should consider giving a bit of what we have to others, in particular to those that work and actually help us live a good life. That is our family, our friends, but even the everyday worker that is at the supermarket. An idea which I apply is to buy something extra for the cashier when I make a big purchase at the supermarket. Some biscuits or some chocolates don't cost much. Regular gifts to others makes life more pleasant and pleasurable for ourselves and for those with whom we interact. Thinking about one's children is natural. It's natural for a mother to buy a small gift to a young small child. The power of cuteness, simply because the being is beautiful and cherishable, doesn't mean that we have to forget the others as well that are not so. So the idea of buying small gifts to children is good, but one must also think about one's spouses or one's friends. Giving small gifts is not habitual in our society. In our society, we tip. We leave a little bit of money to show appreciation to a young, poor worker in a restaurant. But what we really should do is go do the extra step, seeking to think about what makes those that are around us happy. Thus, as we walk in a commercial center, or even once again there where we buy food, spending the small amounts, giving the small thought towards somebody that we relate to every single day is something which gives source to joy and happiness to ourselves, to the other person, and to society. There is also a greater chance that the other person will remember us in favorable light. This world is so much full of gossip and slander that small gifts set up a beautiful protection against the ill thinking and wrong saying of so many others. Small gifts favor community spirit. It's the opportunity to start a conversation with other people, to pick up a friendship that was starting to ebb away and disappear, and renew it. It's the opportunity to create new friendships, to knock at the door of a neighbor and see how he is. Gifts that are well thought out create good sensation, a good vibe, good predisposition. It's plain stupid not to do that. There's good reason to give gifts to others. There's good reason to dedicate some of our money and our time and our attention and our thoughts to other people, to other creatures. It makes our world so much more pleasurable, and a little bit of oil sort of makes the machine work a bit better. It's a form of, yes, corruption of the soul that is not corruption, but a form of enhancement. An enhancement that is good and that makes life more special for us and for others. To put an end note to this small speech, here I'm trying to encourage you towards an openness towards not only those which are in your immediate surrounding, your office, your family, but also towards the creatures of this planet, of this world. One has to consider that as years pass by, one becomes more and more lonely. Relations dissipate. So there has to be an active effort on our side, also for our social health, to reach out towards others. Reach out towards others with small thoughts, small actions, which encourage interaction and which encourage the flourishing of relation. Something which helps bring this world to less strife, to less combat, to less conflict. Something which improves our lives and the world in which we are. So, well, the only thing I can say at this point is be good. Be good to others, be good to your friends, be good to your family, be good to this world, and make it a better place. Until the next one, goodbye. Like and subscribe, and be part of this new religion, the religion of goodness, so that we can improve this world, but above all, so that we can improve our life. Goodbye to all.